Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My honorable to our reviewer, my honorable to our audience, good morning everybody. My name is Fitriani, student from Postgraduate School, Indonesia University of Education, and the first author of this paper. I'm going to present this paper titled Meta-Analysis Blended Learning as Solution in Learning Mathematics during the COVID-19 pandemic. So let's get started. Introduction. The COVID-19 pandemic from the end of 2019 until now, 2020 still exists in this world, namely Indonesia. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused several activities to be diverted, including in school education. Various kinds of ways and effort are made by the government from the optimal running of the education process in learning. Learning that has been carried out face-to-face in school must be converted into online learning since the COVID-19 pandemic. School has had a strategy in carrying out learning in which the strategy that applied data can product maximum student learning outcome and to not run away from the current curriculum. Since COVID-19, the government has implemented distance learning as a learning process that can be implemented in school. Many online learning processes have been carried out by school during this pandemic, such as learning uses Google Classroom, WhatsApp, email, Edmodo, and other. This learning is actually prior to the extension of COVID-19. Some have already implemented it. However, after the pandemic, this became a weapon from teacher of school. The beginning of the pandemic at the end of December 2019 and until now several regions are still implementing online learning. However, the online learning process makes students ineffective and inefficient. On learning experience variant obstacle ranking from limited internet, bad signal, consuming a lot of internet quota, and the majority of students have difficult understanding online learning, not to mention learning media that are live attractive and tradition. So is blended learning. Method, type of method, meta-analysis, populasi, sample, instrument, and analysis. The research is a research with a meta-analysis method using qualitative descriptive data analysis, namely by reviewing and analysis research journal that have problems that are relevant to the purpose of this study. Namely, blended learning to be a solution in learning mathematics during the COVID-19 pandemic. The instrument of this research is the research journal download online from Google Scholar from 2017 to 2021 become a population. With the sampling was done by purposive technique by looking at the criteria according to the need that were being studied. Result and discussion. Journal 1, the result of the analysis in the first journal regarding blended learning, which is an innovation and educational solution during the COVID-19 pandemic. It is that by integrating traditional learning with multimedia-based and online learning, so that the blended learning model become the direct solution in the COVID-19 pandemic. But by paying attention to the curriculum, learning strategy, and technology selection that will be application later, the ability to combat the three think will determine the success in implementation blended learning. Journal 2, second journal about the implementation of blended learning during the COVID-19 pandemic, which was conducted at SDYP Nasional Surabaya. The result of the second journal analysis show the application of blended learning weight is carried out using a semi-online composition of 50-50. Now, namely, 50% face-to-face will still paying attention to health protocol, and 50% online using the learning research Rumah Belajar from the Ministry of Education and Culture. The results showed that the application of blended learning during the pandemic turned out to be very helpful for teachers in delivering material to students, as well as interesting students independent in learning. Grade 4 students of SDYP Surabaya, Nasional Surabaya have experience in increase in learning outcome in mathematics in the subject of connect and live. Journal 3, Journal 4, Journal 5, Journal 6, and Journal 7. 7 journal about blended learning based on YouTube ebook in mathematics learning. This research is a development research conducted during the COVID-19 pandemic situation. The purpose of this development research is to develop design blended learning ebook base, which is integrated with YouTube and learning mathematics in geometry material that is valid, practice, and effective, and know the readiness of students to use blended learning at the learning stage in mathematics learning. The result of the study conclude that ebook-based blended learning with is integrated with YouTube in mathematics learning geometry material has valid, practical, and effective criteria. Likewise, the result of student radiance switch student radiance in good category. This show that students are ready for learning, and blended learning is one of the teaching solution during the COVID-19 pandemic. Journal X journal on the use of blended learning with modular. A study on the effective of PGSD teacher during the COVID-19 pandemic. This study aimed to determine whether the use of the blended learning model with the modular application is effective for PGSD teacher during the COVID-19 pandemic. The result of the study conclude that the use of the blended learning model with the modular application was effective for PGSD teacher during the COVID-19 pandemic. The use of blended learning makes the user for a educator and student in the process of understanding and of the teaching and learning process. Conclusion. Blended learning is learning that is done face-to-face and online based on the result of the analysis of X journal. It was found that blended learning was a mathematical learning solution during the COVID-19 pandemic. The application of blended learning in mathematical learning during the pandemic greatly helped teachers in delivering material to students and increasing student independence in learning. The use of blended learning during the pandemic is effective and can be used as a virtual learning solution. Blended learning can be application in school because in addition to the face-to-face and online learning process, it is also an innovative for teacher and student in facing the COVID-19 pandemic and toward the 20th of the century that can use technology and teaching. However, in some of the journal analysis above, there are several weaknesses in the application of blended learning, especially when online such as internet limited, bad signal, consuming a lot of internet quota, and if learning is not present properly, it becomes less attractive and tedious of students. The limited in this study is that research have only referred a journal related to the research team and help not look into it. There are other solutions in addition to blended learning and learning mathematics during the COVID-19 pandemic, because blended learning is still one solution, which means that there might be other solution apart from blended learning. Acknowledgement. The other what led to thank the Institut Agama Islam Negeri YIN Langsa and Indonesia University of Education UPI from providing academic support, and the Lembaga Pengelola Dana Pendidikan LPDP from the Indonesia Ministry of Education. Technology Research and Higher Education, Kemesdikti of the Republic of Indonesia for providing financing support for the completion of this paper. Thank you very much for attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.